Good morning everybody, and once again welcome to the class of Human Anatomy and Physiology. Myself, I am Dr. Jitendra Chimukurti, Head of the Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences in Vignan's Foundation for Science, Technology and Research. Today we are here to study about the topic lymphatic system. So we are dealing with the chapter body fluids. Under that we have seen blood. Now let's see the other body fluid, that is lymphatic system. Unlike blood, lymphatic system is also consists of lymph and various lymph vessels and lymph organs, etc. Let's see them in detail. So generally the body cells, they are immersed in or they are bathed in a fluid which is called as interstitial fluid. That fluid which is present within the blood vessels, it is called as blood. That fluid which is present within the cells is called as cytoplasm or cytosol, whereas that fluid in which the cells are suspended or that fluid which is surrounding the cells, it is called as interstitial fluid. And generally this is also called as the tissue fluid, and this tissue fluid, it constantly leaks out of the blood vessels. The fluid that is constantly leaking out into the tissues from the blood vessels, it is called as tissue fluid or interstitial fluid. And that fluid that comes out from this blood vessels or blood capillaries into the tissue fluid, generally it once again it comes back into the bloodstream. So we have seen that the blood capillaries are highly permeable, so that the fluid that is present in the blood, apart from the blood cells and plasma proteins, so everything can be easily diffused. It can cross the blood barrier and it enters into the tissues. So the composition of the tissue fluid is similar to that of blood plasma. So plasma also is the same. It consists of all the constituents of blood except the blood cells, and tissue fluid also is of the same composition as that of plasma, but the tissue fluid does not consist of the plasma proteins, because plasma proteins are larger in size and they remain within the blood vessels, and this they do not cross the blood barrier, so that they will not enter into the tissue fluid. And generally that fluid which has come from the blood vessels into the tissues, once again it comes back into the tissues. So this is once again it comes back into the blood vessels, and this is due to the presence of plasma proteins, and this plasma proteins will create an osmotic pressure, so that that fluid which moves out of the blood vessels once again come back into the blood vessels, so that the blood volume will be maintained here. So the most of the fluid that moves out of the blood vessels into the tissues once again come back into the blood vessels, and that fluid which does not return back into the blood vessels is collected by a specialized capillaries called as lymph capillaries. We have seen that some about 21 liters of fluid from the blood vessels will enter into the tissues per day, and approximately 17 liters of this thing will once again come back into the blood vessels, whereas the remaining 3 to 4 liters generally it is taken back by the lymphatic system through lymph capillaries, and once again it will be carried over to the bloodstream. And the purpose of this lymphatic system is to collect this particular excess fluid which does not come back into the blood vessels, will to be carried into the bloodstream. This is one purpose of the lymphatic system here. And this lymph generally it passes through vessels called as lymph vessels, and this lymph vessels also similar to that of blood vessels, they grow in size from small capillaries to large lymph vessels followed by lymph ducts. And generally before this lymph is being carried over through these lymph vessels and emptying into the blood vessels, especially veins, it passes through a series of organs called as lymph nodes and lymphatic organs. So lymph nodes and lymphatic organs are the organs which are present in between the path of the lymph from the various tissues to the blood vessels. Now you understood what is lymph. So lymph is nothing but that fluid which has come from the blood vessels into the tissues, and that fluid which remains within the tissues and which does not go back into the blood vessels is collected as lymph by the lymph capillaries which are present in all the tissues. Almost all the tissues also receive this lymph capillaries, and this lymph which is carried by this lymph capillaries, it once again passes through various series of organs or series of lymphatic tissue before it reaches the bloodstream. So in this way the fluid from the blood, it goes into the tissues, and that fluid once again come back into the blood, and that fluid which does not come back into the bloodstream will be carried through the lymph capillaries once again into the bloodstream. And let us see what is this lymphatic system. It means what all are the components of this lymphatic system. So under this we will be studying about lymph, lymph vessels, lymph nodes, lymph organs, and diffuse lymphoid tissue and bone marrow. So we will be studying about these things: lymph, lymph vessels, lymph nodes, lymphatic organs, and diffuse lymphoid tissue in detail. So before going in detail about these individual components, first of all let us see what is the function of this lymphatic system as a whole. So we have seen lymphatic system has different functions, and of these different functions we can categorize all of them into three main functions. They are: first thing is tissue drainage, second thing is absorption in the small intestine, and the third thing is immunity. These are the three main functions of lymphatic system: tissue drainage, absorption in the small intestine, and immunity. So when coming to this tissue drainage, we have seen that approximately 21 liters of fluid from the plasma, it enters into the bloodstream at the arterial end, and the majority of it once again it comes back into the bloodstream from the venous end of the blood capillaries, and that 3 to 4 liters of fluid which does not return back into the bloodstream, it is carried or it is collected by this lymph capillaries, and this once again brings back the blood or the fluid that is collected into the bloodstream. So imagine if at all it does not happen, means imagine if lymph capillaries are not there in the body, what happens? 21 liters of fluid comes from blood vessels into the tissues, whereas only 17 liters comes back. So the remaining 3 to 4 liters are present within the tissues. So this makes water accumulation within the tissues, and once water accumulation occurs within the tissues, it increases pressure in the tissues, affecting the functions of the tissues. Apart from this, the blood volume in the blood vessels will be reduced because everything does not come back. So this automatically reduces the oxygen supply to the tissues, nutrient supply to the tissues, and in this way it affects the whole system. So hence lymphatic system plays a very important role in draining away the excess fluid from the tissues. And next, other important function of lymphatic system is absorption in the small intestine. So in the small intestine we have seen that there are many villi and microvilli which are present in the inner layer of small intestine or in the mucosal layer of small intestine. This villi and microvilli, generally they are essential for enhancing the surface area of absorption of small intestine, and these villi, microvilli, are supplied with blood vessels and separate lymph vessels called as lacteals, and this lacteals will absorb the fats from the intestinal contents, and hence they play an important role in absorption of fat soluble vitamins or fats, especially fatty acids and glycerol, and this once again it comes back into the bloodstream. Whereas the third important function of lymphatic system is immunity. So the lymphatic organs, generally they are essential for the production of lymphocytes. We have seen that there are two different types of lymphocytes, T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes, and this lymphatic organs, especially lymph nodes and other lymphatic organs, they are essential for the production and maturation of this lymphocytes, production and maturation. And these white blood cells or lymphocytes especially, they are responsible for maintaining the immune response in the body, and the bone marrow generally, which is also essential for producing these white blood cells, is also considered as a part of this lymphatic system. And this are the three important functions of lymphatic system. Now let's start about the study of individual components of lymphatic system. So we have seen that the lymphatic system, it consists of various components such as lymph vessels, lymph nodes, lymphatic organs, diffuse lymphoid tissue. So we will start with the first one, that is the lymph. Lymph, as we have seen, it is a clear watery fluid and similar in composition to that of plasma and to that of interstitial fluid, except it does not consist of plasma proteins, because the plasma proteins remain within the blood vessels, it cannot come out, so that it does not consist of this plasma proteins. So lymph is having similar composition to that of plasma, but it does not consist of plasma proteins. And this lymph also, it is involved in transport of plasma proteins which are leaked from the blood vessels into the tissue fluid. Some plasma proteins which are minute or which are not fully formed, so these plasma proteins, they leak through the blood capillaries into the tissue fluid, and this plasma proteins also are collected by the lymph, and through the lymphatic system once again it will be conveyed or it will be transported to the bloodstream. So this is another property of lymph, and it is also essential to carry larger particles such as those particles, bacteria, cell debris from damaged tissues, and these also can be collected by this lymph vessels, whereas these things, they cannot be collected by the bloodstream. So generally all the tissues are supplied by blood vessels, and all the waste, generally carbon dioxide or any metabolic waste such as urea, uric acid, all such sort of things will be collected by the bloodstream, but particulate matter, it cannot collected by the blood vessels, whereas lymph vessels, they can collect the particulate matter such as those bacteria which are invaded into the body, or cell debris from any damaged cell. So this all can be collected by this lymph capillaries, and this also forms a part of the lymph. And this lymph also consists of lymphocytes. So majority of the lymphocytes which are produced or which are matured in this lymphatic organs, they circulate within the lymphatic system in the lymph, and these act as an patrolling mechanisms which are supplied to different regions of the body, and they will monitor the health of that particular organs to see whether any bacterial invasion or any foreign microbial invasion occurred in that particular tissues or not. And generally we have seen in the small intestine the microvilli are supplied within separate lymph vessels called as lacteals, and this fats which are absorbed by this into this lacteals, they give a milky white appearance to that particular lymph which is being absorbed from microvilli. Next we will see about the other component of lymphatic system, that is lymph capillaries. So we have seen that lymph capillaries are generally similar to that of blood capillaries, but the blood capillaries, they generally divide from larger blood vessels to smaller blood vessels to minute blood vessels, such as arteries will divide to arterioles, will divide to capillaries, whereas these small capillaries once again unite to form venules, and venules once again combine to form veins. In this way the blood vessels are interconnected: arteries, arterioles, blood capillaries, venules and veins, whereas the lymph capillaries, they originate as in blind ended tubes. So it is not any continuous system. So whereas in the case of blood vessels, they are continuous: heart, arteries, arterioles, blood vessels, especially capillaries, once again venules and veins, once again they empty into the heart, whereas here it does not occur in the case of this lymph capillaries. They originate as blind ended tubes. You can see in this diagram. So this diagram, it shows the lymph capillary which originates as a blind ended tube, and this you can see the arrow marks which collect the fluid from this tissues that is present in the interstitial space or the spaces between the cells. So in this way the fluid, it enters into the lymph capillaries, and generally the lymph capillaries also will have the same structure as that of all the blood capillaries. It has a single layer of endothelial cells inwards inside, whereas in the middle it consists of smooth muscle tissue, whereas in the outer it consists of fibrous tissue. So these are the same similar layers that are present in blood vessels: inner single layer of endothelial cells, followed by smooth muscle tissue, followed by fibrous tissue, whereas the lymph capillaries walls are more permeable than that of blood capillary walls, because we have seen larger particles also will be collected by the lymph capillaries, such as bacteria or those proteins which leak from the blood vessels into the tissues, or any cell debris, damaged cells, organelles, all these things will be collected by the lymph. Hence their walls are more permeable than that of other blood capillaries, and these tiny blood capillaries, once again they unite to form larger blood, and these tiny lymph capillaries once again unite to form larger lymph vessels, and they once again unite to form larger ducts. So lymph capillaries, lymph vessels and lymphatic ducts. Generally all the tissues receive this particular lymphatic vessels except central nervous system, superficial layers of skin, cornea of eye and bones. Only these tissues, they does not receive any lymphatic innervation, means lymphatic vessels are absent in these regions: central nervous system, cornea of eye, bones and superficial layers of skin. We have seen that This smaller lymph capillaries, once again they unite to form larger lymph vessels, and this larger lymph vessels also are having certain characteristic features, that they are always along with larger blood vessels such as arteries and veins. They also run along the larger blood vessels such as arteries and veins, and their walls also are having the same thickness as that of small veins or small arteries, and their walls also have certain cup shaped cusps which act as valves to prevent bidirectional flow, so that they prevent backflow of lymph. So these are the characteristic features of an large lymph vessels. So large lymph vessels generally they run along with the large blood vessels such as arteries and veins, and their walls also are having similar composition to that of veins, as we have seen: outer fibrous covering, middle smooth muscle layer, and inner layer of endothelium, and their walls also have valves similar to that of veins. Veins also will have valves so that the blood flow will not be reversed. Here the lymph flow will not be reversed here, and this ensures one way flow of lymph. Another important characteristic of lymphatic system is lymphatic system does not consist of any pump, or it does not has any pumping organ which keeps the lymph continuously circulating in the lymph vessels, and generally the movement of lymph, it is facilitated by the muscle layers into which these lymph vessels are present. And another factor is that we have seen that these lymph vessels also are associated with arteries and veins, and this pulsating movement of arteries and veins or contraction and relaxation of muscles will facilitate the movement of lymph in the lymphatic vessels. We have seen that lymph capillaries unite to form lymph vessels, and lymph vessels once again unite to form larger lymphatic ducts, and there are two large lymphatic ducts in the lymphatic system. They are thoracic duct and right lymphatic duct. So these are the two large ducts into which all the lymph vessels will empty into or will lead to formation of this thoracic duct and right lymphatic duct. We will see about them in detail. So thoracic duct is a duct which measures up to 40 centimeters in length, and this originates from a region called as cisterna chyli, so which is the dilated channel which is situated in front of the lumbar vertebrae, first and second lumbar vertebrae. In this region, it is present in front of the first and second lumbar vertebrae, and from there it passes upwards and it ends in the left subclavian artery. It originates from the cisterna chyli, so which is present in front of the first and second lumbar vertebrae, and it passes upwards, and we have seen this is approximately 40 centimeters in length, and this ends in the left subclavian vein. So here we have seen the clavicle, and in this region we have the subclavian vein, and this cisterna chyli, and from there the thoracic duct, it empties into the subclavian vein. It means all the lymph that is collected from various regions of the body. So we will see now. We have seen that there are two different thoracic ducts which are formed by the fusion of lymph capillaries, which fuses to form lymph vessels, which empties into the thoracic duct or right lymphatic duct. So here the thoracic duct, it collects lymph from majority of the body. The thoracic duct will collect the lymph from majority of the body, and here the lymph from lower limbs, pelvis, abdomen, right side of the left half of the thorax, left arm, left side of the head and neck, in all these regions the lymph that is collected from these regions will empty into this thoracic duct, and from this it empties into the left subclavian vein. It means that lymph which is collected from all these regions, once again it enters into the venous system or into the circulatory system or into the bloodstream. So in this way the lymph from these regions, from the lower limbs, pelvis, abdomen, right side of the thorax, right arm, right side of the head and right side of the neck, all these things will empty into this thoracic duct. Whereas we have seen the other larger duct of lymphatic system is right lymphatic duct, and this right lymphatic duct, it measures only about 1 centimeters in length, and generally it lies in the region of the right clavicle, and here this empties into the right subclavian vein, whereas here the thoracic duct, it empties into the left subclavian vein, whereas the right lymphatic duct, it empties into the right subclavian vein. And this right lymphatic duct, it collects the lymph from the head and neck, right side of the head and neck, right arm and right side of the thorax. Only these regions, the lymph is collected from these regions into the right lymphatic duct, and it empties into the right subclavian vein. So in this way the lymph from different regions of the body is collected by the lymph capillaries, which once again unite to form the lymph vessels, which once again unite to form the larger ducts called as thoracic duct or right lymphatic duct. And these once again they collect the lymph and they will empty these things into the right subclavian vein and the left subclavian vein, making the lymph once again enter into the bloodstream. Now let's see the lymphatic organs and lymphatic tissues. So we have seen that lymphatic organs are nothing but it consists of lymphatic tissue, or which are essential in the other important function of lymphatic system. So that is either immunity and filtering. All these things are other important functions of lymphatic organs. So these are the various lymphatic organs. They are lymph nodes, spleen, thymus gland, mucosa associated lymphatic tissue. It is called as MALT. Lymph nodes, spleen, thymus gland and mucosa associated lymphatic tissue. So we will see them in detail. So generally in this diagram you can see that there are various small bulged structures in between the lymph nodes, and this are called as, so in this diagram you can see that the lymph vessels, and in between the lymph vessels there are certain bean shaped structures which are called as lymph nodes, and these lymph nodes generally are present in the pathway in between the lymph vessels. So it means that the lymph that is collected from different tissues, it has to pass through this lymph nodes before it enters into the adjacent lymph vessel. So in this way the lymph nodes, they play an important role in monitoring the lymph that is collected from different tissues and producing its action. So we will see them in detail. So lymph nodes. So lymph nodes generally are bean shaped organs which are present along the length of lymph vessels, and lymph generally drains through 8 to 10 different nodes by the time it reaches into the bloodstream. We have seen that the ultimate region where the lymph ends or goes is the bloodstream, and before the lymph enters into the bloodstream, it passes through about 8 to 10 lymph nodes. It means in this pathway, for example, our lymph is collected from the left arm. So in this from this region, when the lymph is collected, it passes through different lymph nodes that are present in different regions before it enters into the bloodstream. And this, when coming to the structure of this lymph node, you can see in the diagram, it consists of an outer fibrous capsule, and this outer fibrous capsule, it folds inwards. You can see it folds inwards so that it forms partitions within the lymph node, and these partitions are called as trabeculae. The outer fibrous portion, it folds inwards to form partitions, and these partitions are called as trabeculae. And generally within the lymph node, it consists of various tissues such as lymphatic tissue and reticular tissue. So lymphatic tissue and reticular tissue. So we have seen reticular tissue is, once again, it is a type of connective tissue, and generally it is involved in providing structural support to the underlying lymphatic tissue. And generally this lymphatic tissue and reticular tissue, it consists of lymphocytes and macrophages. So lymphocytes and macrophages are present in this lymph nodes, within this lymph nodes. And when coming to this structure of lymph node, you can see that there are 3 lymph vessels, they are emptying into the lymph node, whereas only one lymph vessel, it comes out of the lymph node. So it means in general about 4 to 5 different lymph vessels which collect lymph from different regions, they empty into one lymph node, and once again this lymph node gives rise to the lymph vessel, and this lymph vessel, once again, it empties into another lymph node. So in this way, the lymph that is collected from different regions, it passes through different lymph nodes before it enters into the bloodstream. So that lymph nodes which are entering or which bring the lymph into the lymph nodes are called as afferent nodes. About 4 to 5 afferent nodes bring lymph to the lymph nodes, and only one efferent lymph vessel, it leaves the lymph nodes. And generally the lymph from different regions are collected by different types of lymph nodes. So we have seen that from all the regions in the body, the lymph will be collected by lymph vessels, and that lymph which is collected from the head, it passes through the cervical nodes, and these cervical nodes are present in these regions which we can see in this diagram. These are the cervical nodes. Whereas that lymph that is collected from the upper limbs, and this lymph, it passes through nodes that are present in the elbow region, and also the nodes that are present in the axilla region, or we can call them as axillary nodes. Elbow nodes, nodes present in the elbow region, and the axillary nodes. And that lymph that is collected from the pelvic region and the abdominal region. So pelvic region and the abdominal region, it passes through the nodes, especially in the cisterna chyli. So where that is the originating site for the thoracic duct. Whereas that lymph that is collected from the lower limbs, so it is collected, it is passing through various lymph nodes that are present in the knee region, which are called as popliteal nodes, and it once again passes through the nodes that are present in the groin region, which are called as inguinal nodes. And in this way, the lymph from different regions, it passes through different nodes that are present in the body. We have seen from the head, it passes through cervical nodes. From the upper arm, it passes through the nodes in the elbow region and in the axillary region. Whereas from the pelvic region and the abdominal region, it passes through the cisterna chyli. Whereas from the lower limbs, it passes through the nodes that are present in the popliteal surface, which are called as popliteal nodes, and in the groin surface, which are called as inguinal nodes. So in this way, the fluid or the lymph that is collected from different regions, before it enters into the bloodstream, it passes through approximately 8 to 10 nodes, and in these nodes the following functions will occur. The thing is filtering and phagocytosis. So we have seen that various particulate matter such as bacteria or cell debris, tumor cells, damaged cell organelles, all these things also are collected by the lymph, and all these things are filtered in this lymph nodes. And other important function of this lymph nodes is proliferation or maturation of lymphocytes, and other important function is phagocytosis, so that bacteria or any tumor cells which enter into these regions, they are phagocytized by this macrophages, and for any antigens are present, these lymphocytes which are present in this thing, they will react with this antigens here. So in this way, the lymph nodes play a very important role in these functions such as filtration, phagocytosis, proliferation of lymphocytes, and defense against the antigens that are coming from these particular tissues. Now let's see the other lymphatic organ, that is spleen. So we have seen about lymph vessels, lymphatic ducts, and now we are seeing about lymph organs. So under that we have seen lymph nodes which are a part of this lymphatic lymph vessels, and now we are seeing about lymphatic organs. Under these lymphatic organs, you will be studying about spleen and thymus gland. Spleen and thymus gland are the organs of lymphatic system. So let's see about them in detail. Spleen, it is an slightly oval shaped structure, and this is also considered as the largest lymphatic organ, and it has the same reticular tissue and lymphatic tissue that is present in that of lymph nodes. And this spleen, it is purple in color, and it is enclosed with a fibroelastic capsule. This also folds inwards to form partitions within the spleen, and this are once again called as trabeculae. We have seen the same thing in the lymph nodes also. The outer fibrous capsule, it folds inwards to form partitions, and this partitions, the spleen, it is having an outer fibrous capsule, and this outer fibrous capsule once again it folds inwards to form partitions within the spleen, and this gives a partitioned appearance in the spleen, and this partitions also once again are called as trabeculae. And that substance which is present within the spleen, it is called as splenic pulp, and this splenic pulp, it consists of two different categories, that is red pulp and white pulp. The red pulp, it consists of that fluid, or which is nothing but the blood, whereas white pulp, it consists of this lymphocytes and macrophages, and hence this spleen, it generally it acts as a reservoir for blood, because it consists of approximately 20% of the blood, and it acts as an immediate reservoir whenever there is a need for blood. And the lymphatic tissue, or once again and the white pulp, it consists of lymphocytes and macrophages. When coming to this structural arrangement of spleen, anteriorly it is covered with peritoneum, and the hilum which is present in the medial surface, it is the region through which splenic artery, splenic vein, lymphatic vessels and nerves, they enter or leave the spleen. So from the hilum, splenic artery, splenic vein, lymph vessels and nerves that enter and leave through this spleen. And generally the blood passes through this sinusoids. Sinusoids are nothing but those type of blood vessels which are having large pores or large more permeability, so that all particulate matter will be passing through this blood vessels or sinusoids. And when the blood is passing through this sinusoid into the pulp, it gets filtered of this aging cells or damaged blood cells. So the important function of the spleen is once again because of the presence of lymphocytes and macrophages. So these are also involved in defense and filtering. So here in this diagram you can see that the spleen, it is having an outer fibrous capsule. It folds inwards to form partitions called as trabeculae, and we can see the white pulp and the red pulp. Red pulp consists of blood, and spleen also it acts as a reservoir of blood, whereas the white pulp, it consists of lymphocytes and macrophages, and these lymphocytes and macrophages, they serve the purpose of lymphatic system. So that is filtration and protection or immunity against invaded organisms. When coming to this other organ of lymphatic system, it is thymus gland, and this thymus gland, it lies in the upper part of the mediastinum. So this is the region which is called as the mediastinum, and this thymus gland, it lies in the upper part of the mediastinum behind the sternum, and this extends up to the root of the neck. So behind the sternum, it extends up to the root of the neck, and generally at birth it will be approximately 10 to 15 grams in weight, and as the individual grows, it also grows to about 30 to 40 grams when he reaches middle age. So at birth it is 10 to 15 gram, and when he reaches middle age, it also grows to about 30 to 40 grams. And later this undergoes atrophy or deterioration, and this once again reduces in size, and it comes back to that of normal or about 10 to 15 grams, and its activity also will be reduced from the middle age with the aging here. And here another the same functions of other lymphatic organs, the thymus also produces the same thing, and here it is involved in another important function, that is maturation of lymphocytes and giving specificity to the lymphocytes. We will see them in detail. So you can see in the diagram the green colored portions, thymus gland, it exists as two lobes, the right and left lobe. So it originates from the mediastinum lying behind the sternum, and it ends into the neck, in the root of the neck. So this is the structure of lymphatic system. So here it consists of two lobes which are joined by an areolar tissue, and the lobes are enclosed in a fibrous capsule which dips into their substance. So the fibrous capsule, similarly how the fibrous capsules of lymph nodes, how the fibrous capsule of spleen, it dips into this thing. This fibrous capsule which is surrounding or which covers the thymus gland, also it dips into this thing, and this once again divides the thymus gland's lobes into lobules by folding inwards, and this consists of irregular branching of framework of epithelial cells and lymphocytes. All these things are present in the thymus gland. When coming to these functions of thymus gland, lymphocytes enter into the thymus gland. So that lymphocytes, which we have seen in the process of formation of white blood cells, we have seen lymphoblasts, it gives rise to lymphocytes, and this lymphocytes, it will reach the thymus gland, and in this thymus gland they get matured or activated into the T lymphocytes, and this occurs in the presence of an hormone or that is produced by this thymus gland, which is called as thymosin. the thymosin, it causes maturation of this T lymphocytes, and this thymus, it also provides the T lymphocytes specificity. We have seen the purpose of T lymphocytes or B lymphocytes is they are involved in immunity, and these are involved in acting against any antigen that enters into the body, and this is the important function of this T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. And there are many T lymphocytes, and each T lymphocyte will active only on one particular type of antigen. So even though there are 4 different types of viruses that enter into the body, and we have only one type of T lymphocyte which is acting on one type of virus, so it will go and bind to that particular thing, but it will not bind to the other viruses. So that is specificity, and this specificity for a T lymphocyte, it is given by the thymus gland, and hence so that this T lymphocytes will react with only that particular specific antigen from millions of antigens that this T lymphocyte will encounter. It will not go and bind to all the types of antigen. The T lymphocyte which is having specific activity, that only goes and bind to that particular antigen here. And this T lymphocytes, once they are matured, they also leave the thymus gland and they enter into the blood, and they enter into the lymphoid tissue, and they enter into the circulation. All these things occur once the T lymphocytes are produced from the thymus gland. And this maturation of the thymus gland and other lymphoid tissue, it is stimulated by this thymosin. We have seen that thymus gland, it produces a hormone called as thymosin, and this thymosin is necessary for maturation of this lymphocytes. And after middle aged, we have seen that the thymus gland will once again reduce in size because of atrophy. So this shrinking of size reduces the activity of thymus gland, and this also reduces the function of this thymus gland, so that the ability to produce immune response also will be reduced in the old age, because the activity of thymus gland is reduced. We have seen about lymph nodes and lymphatic organs. So in that lymphatic organs, we have studied about spleen and we have studied about thymus gland. Now let's see about the lymph tissue, or here we call it as mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. So this is called as MALT, mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. So here this is not any organ. So we have seen with various organs such as lymph nodes, spleen and thymus gland, all are organs which are protected by a fibrous tissue, whereas this tissue which is called as MALT or mucosa associated lymphoid tissue, it is in lymphoid tissue, it is open and it is not covered by any fibrous covering, and this is not supplied with lymph vessels, whereas all the other lymphatic organs or lymph nodes, they are supplied with lymph vessels or blood vessels, whereas this lymphoid tissue, it is not supplied with lymph vessels, and this is exposed. And this MALT or mucosa associated lymphoid tissue, it is a collection of lymphoid tissue that is not enclosed within any capsule, and this lymphoid tissue consists of B and T lymphocytes, generally which are migrated from the bone marrow and the thymus gland, which enters into the bloodstream. They go and they are stored in this lymphoid tissue, B and T lymphocytes, and this also are an important tissues which are essential for early detection of microbes, and this is because of their arrangement in the body. Generally, as we have seen, they do not have any lymph vessels which carry lymph to those organs. The microbes or any such foreign substances will get directly exposed, and this is possible when they are present in those regions where there is a chance of something that is entering into the body. that is through air or through food. And here when the air is inhaled, so the microbes that are inhaled through the air, they are monitored by this lymphoid tissue that is present in this regions of nose and mouth. And here these lymphoid tissues that are present in the nasal cavity or in the region of mouth, so these are generally they are called as tonsils. And we have seen that there is a chance that the microbes can enter into the body through food, and that microbes which enter into the body through the food will be taken care by that particular lymphoid tissue which is present in the intestine, and that are called as aggregated lymphoid follicles, aggregated lymphoid follicles, or which are also called as Peyer's patches. So we have seen that the foreign antigens or microbes which enter through the nasal cavity or through the air or through the food will be taken care before they enter into the bloodstream or before they enter into the tissues, and hence these are considered to be important in early detection of this microbes or any invaders. And examples of this mucosa associated lymphoid tissues are tonsils and aggregated lymphoid tissues or Peyer's patches. Let's see them in detail. These tonsils are located in the mouth, behind the nasal cavity and in the throat, and hence that air that is inhaled will pass through these tonsils, and this will trap the microbes or any invaders that enter into the respiratory system or into the body. And there are three different types of tonsils, and those tonsils which are present behind the nasal cavity in the pharynx region are called as pharyngeal tonsils, and this are also called as adenoids, whereas those tonsils, tonsil is nothing but lymphoid tissue which is not covered by a fibrous capsule, and those tonsils which are present in the palatine, hard palate or soft palate region, that is called as palatine region, those tonsils which are present behind the palatine region or near to the top soft palate, these are called as palatine tonsils, and those tonsils which are present under the end of the tongue, these are called as lingual tonsils. So in all these regions, when the microbes enter through inhaled air or through food that we eat, the microbes will be trapped by these tonsils, and the B and T lymphocytes which are present in this lymphoid tissues, they will destroy that particular antigens, so that they will detect these things earlier before these enter into the blood, once again into the tissues and all. Whereas the other type of mucosa associated lymphoid tissue is aggregated lymphoid tissue, which is also called as Peyer's patches, and these are large collections of lymphoid tissue, and generally they are found in small intestine, and they collect these particular microbes which enter into the body through food, and they will destroy those things by this T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes here. So in this way, this mucosa associated lymphoid tissue are involved in protection against this invading microorganism. So with this, we have completed the chapter lymphatic system. Under that lymphatic system, we have studied about what is the functions of lymphatic system, what is lymphatic system, what are various components of lymphatic system. Under that, we have studied about the lymph, we have studied about lymph capillaries, we have studied about lymph vessels, we have studied about lymphatic ducts, we have studied about lymph nodes, lymphatic organs, and mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. And in this lymph nodes, we have seen what is the structure of these lymph nodes, and what is the component of these lymph nodes and what is the function of lymph nodes. And in the lymphatic organs we have studied about the spleen and thymus gland, their structure, their functions, and in the mucosa associated lymphoid tissue we have studied about tonsils and aggregated lymphoid tissues or Peyer's patches. Thank you.